A year ago, my partner and I went to Japan for a month. The first 20 days we booked distant journeys, the very best of Japan escorted tour. The first optional experience, and by optional I mean at additional cost, that we took was a dinner cruise along the Sumida River. Sadly, it was very much not worth it. There was pipe music, we were expecting live music, especially as we saw one room with a pianist and another with a string quartet. The food was poorly prepared, served tepid and in very small portions, even for Japan. We were, a dozen of us, seated to one side of an otherwise empty room that could seat several times that. The portholes were just above water level, so the views were poor. On the way back to the hotel, the distant tours rep assured us that he'd report this to head office and they would address it with us on our return to the UK. Fast forward to day 12, and another option, a Japanese barbecue experience. This experience was appalling, and this was entirely the fault of the JTB guide. The rep wasn't with us. She was passive aggressive throughout, which triggers my partner's PTSD to the point where I had to physically put myself between them. And then she went on a racist rant in Japanese to the coach driver, describing the group as lazy and drunkards. My partner and I did not get much sleep. I'd basically suffered an almighty anxiety attack. In the morning, I spoke to the rep and explained the effects of the guide's behaviour. He asked me to email him the details, understood why we would not be able to tour that day, and said he would speak to head office and the guide. The following day, he said he had spoken to the guide and would be attending all future excursions, so she would not be alone there with our group. He also contacted the UK office, forwarded my mail, and said they would address this with us when they got back to the UK. We had missed a paid excursion, however, assumed this would also be addressed on our return. That was all a year ago. Can you guess how many times head office has been in contact to address the poor experiences? Yep, 0. Were there any red flags? Well, thinking back, there were. Several months before the trip, they emailed me to say that the direct flight option was no longer available and gave us alternative flights with stopovers. I replied with our choice. 2 months later, I realised I had not had the direct flight supplement back. When I contacted them to chase it, they said they were waiting on me for my bank account details. Now, since they had not asked for them, and they should really refund to the card I paid with, I was not impressed. However, I put it down to an oversight on their part. Finally, to anyone who says, why didn't you contact them when they didn't contact you? Well, I'm British. I like to moan, however I suffer extreme anxiety at the thought of engaging with people, even if it's at my financial loss.